It's TWOSday. TWOSday. 222222. That's right. No, 22222.
Don't correct him. Just
22222. It is 2/22/22, and it's also Tuesday. So you know what that means? It's these two fuckers once again. Welcome to Brewing Controversy. Lucas and David coming at you live on YouTube and Facebook. That's right. I'm in Facebook jail, and somehow I still materialize. Mysteries.
Wait, are you in jail again?
Oh, yes.
What did you do this time?
Apparently, they don't like it when you say that Putin should just be assassinated and the whole border needs to be bombed.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
that's correct. I am not wrong. You are speaking the truth. Apparently, if you make that statement in a public post, either your hater stalkers will immediately pounce, or Facebook is lodged so firmly around the tiny, floppy, flaccid Russian dick of the dictator wannabe that they automatically filter that sort of thing. Like, I didn't even get any responses from people before. Bam! 1 week Facebook jail. You criticize Mother Russia.
Zuck's Peter Thiel youth blood transfer isn't going to pay for itself, so
it's
he's got to get those Russian ad dollars in there, man.
It's doing absolutely nothing for the theory that they lean a certain way, shall we say. It is what it is. It'll be okay.
It'll be fine, except for BA.2.
Yeah, well, so I hadn't really paid a lot of attention. You just brought that up, but I was over here having the Mondayest of Tuesdays because work was closed yesterday, and so this became Monday by default. And then I had all day I've had I can still feel like a little bit of a right ear needs to pop thing. So it's not that I can't hear, but it feels weird. So it's just been a frustrating struggle bus of a day. And then you go and bring up this BA2 shit.
Oh, to add to that, the fact that we now have a new, more deadlier coronavirus variant, they also released a new medical study, which makes me so very happy since I've never caught COVID yet, that infection does in fact shrink your testicles and penis.
Are you sure they're not just saying that to get the holdouts to take?
No, they did a study. I'm sitting here being like, yes, no COVID. I am here, ladies and right here. I have always been COVID free. Now there's no question.
Brian's with us. He says, "Howdy ho, girls. Don't call anybody else ho. Only us. We're your original hoes." And he says, "Egad," in response to your tallywhacker observations. Wow. Yeah. The only reason that I'm going to be sad to be in Facebook jail for a week is the potential for comedy around things like that. I think I can hold all of my Russian hate. I'm currently waving my Russian hate boner in the face of Twitter to see if they'll do anything. They did not remove or act upon the same exact post that I made on Facebook. So there's clearly a differential of who is throbbing the knob for Pootie Poo the hardest.
Well, like I said, they need, Russian troll farms, I'm sure, as a single client, that's probably in terms of ads and pushing content, I'm sure that's at least 2, 3, maybe even as high as 5% of their traffic. You lose that's a big tick off the stock price, which you were yelling about today, about how hard the stock market took a dive, which, I understand why you have a twitch about it. I do kind of get it, which is, if Russia can't sell its oil, price of oil goes up a bit, not as much as we already are at. There's no justification for that.
Yeah.
But
no, what I think is silly is that it's like the Russia thing has tendrils that affect the markets everywhere, but the stock market behaves with all the sensibility of high school girls in a cafeteria, like just mass panic and half ill-informed response that spreads like wildfire. I don't know.
None of it's real. Like, the thing is, if anything was actually tied to an earnings report or to profit or to anything of like the fiscal health of the company, Tesla would be a penny stock.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're here, say hello. Willow's with us. Hey, Willow, what's up? Good to see you. A real human being from YouTube is always nice. The last time I sat in on a broadcast was mine and Willow's mutual friend, Johnny. We were being pelted by a Russian porn spam bot. It was hysterical.
Oh, that was great.
He has a more PG show than me, so I would have had a ton of fun with it. So, you know, if you're out there, spam bots, give it your best shot. We'll make it a subject of discussion. You know, but you're probably right about the given all the fake accounts and all of the other things that would be obvious Russian bot fodder with Facebook. That makes perfect sense that they would protect that piece of their clientele. Not 4 days ago, I reported yet another clearly fake, overly hot, only has 3 photos and created their Facebook profile last week. You know, tits and too much makeup right in the frame, fucking fake account friend request. And they, of course, within 24 hours, we found that this profile does not violate our terms of service. So I call for Putin to be offed. I'm out for a week. Fake bitches left and fucking right show up in every man's inbox all fucking day across the world, and they don't ban or delete any of those.
That happens to me quite a bit. Yes.
Brian points out the strength of unilateral actions by our fiscal allies has been felt by Russia. It's a valid weapon. I hope. And Willow points out we don't need a Russian bot to show us where the good. Fair enough.
It's on Lucas's hard drive.
So, I had to think about that, but I think you're probably right. It's a separate hard drive. It stays in but yeah. The rest of her statement, that's what Pornhub is for. Yeah. You know, it's funny. So much of what we used to collect in media, and this is not just a porn thought, this is music and anything else. It now exists in a streamable format. You know, we live in the future, and the future is filled with porn and bad paying music rights.
But I want to point this out about like the people who are so like the internet's just for porn. I mean, if you go through the ruins of Pompeii or any ancient Roman city, any ancient Greek city, if you go through and dig up, you know, the old parts of any old European city or any old Chinese city, all over the place is porn. It's literally, humans really like having sex, and we really like talking about having sex, and we really like drawing pictures that remind us of sex, and then doing things about that particular feeling of being reminded of sex. So I mean, it's not just the internet. The internet is just simply doing what humans always do in every civilization and every culture. So hopefully with just, slightly less,
have you, I love that you said the internet is not just report. Are you familiar with Avenue Q?
Yes, I am.
My immediate thoughts. The internet is for porn. Tracky. You haven't lived until you've gone to a performance of Avenue Q right in the middle of the Bible Belt, and you and your guest are the only 2 people laughing as hard and loud in the entire room. But it was a good day. Brian points out we're America. We do things really well. Porn and violence. Oh, and violent porn. Porn, killing, and eating. Three things Americans do really well. Anyway, that kind of cynicism brings me right into my topic of the day.
Uh-oh. I was about to say there might be someone else who might want to challenge you for the porn title, and here they come.
This is my pet peeve of the last week or so. Fucking Russia. Fucking not Russia. Fucking obsolete Olympics. I'm so goddamn tired of the Olympics. David's had to listen to me bitch about this over and over and over again.
I had to back you up against like whole mobs that were formed against you. I'm like, no, shit.
Yeah, so there's a lot of facets to this, right? Like this is a multifaceted. But my fundamental, like, I started years ago to doubt this whole Olympic thing because I started looking around, realizing the economics and the civic ruin. I think Brazil was when I really woke up and realized what happens when people host the Olympics. And, you know, I started paying attention. Okay, all right. It mostly sucks. The economics are terrible. Most people never get out of debt. Like most cities, hosts never get out of debt, blah, blah, blah. And then you had last summer with the fucking pot controversy. And, you know, I could almost have respected that with Sha'Carri Richardson being suspended for marijuana use. But they had the fucking nerve to call it a performance enhancer. And that just, like, if there was any stupider, whiter justification for that action, it would be to completely have no fucking idea what you're talking about. And then you get around to this year where you've got Pretty Little Liar from Russia, you know, cute little Russian jailbait ice skater that you know has slept/doped her way to the top of her game. No, it's not. It's Russia. You think she's not fucking some coaches? Shit. Anyway,
well, I mean,
and it's not a Larry Nassar thing. It's like the way you get ahead. If it wasn't this, she'd be on the market as a mail order bride. So basically, no, dude, I am so I'm so pissed at Russia permanently at this point. And then this fucking bitch, I'm hearing these arguments that, oh, you know, she's a child. She was failed by the system. The system is corrupt. You are born. You look around and go, hey, I can ice skate. I'm a girl. I'm going to do this. And you know what you're doing. You know where you're going to go with it. My country will dope me to make me successful. It is a system that is known. And so I don't really buy that she was misled or led astray, but I blame her all the way the fuck down the line for lying. In addition to all of this, she should have stayed the fuck quiet and said, oh, they were granddad's meds. Oh, shut the fuck up. What the fuck does granddad need with your fucking performance enhancers?
I'm going to interject real fast. As the son of an Olympian, because my mom she never actually swam in the Olympics. She was part of the U.S. Olympic junior team for several years. The way things have changed once the Olympics became a more commercialized entity, like when mom was doing it, it was, you know, my grandfather driving her from like age 9 till age 16, you know, every day at 4 o'clock in the morning, because they lived in Paducah, Kentucky, driving her to the nearest Olympic-sized swimming pool, which they would open for her so that she could practice.
Yeah.
It was her, you know, showing up, you know, every day at the stables after school to practice for 4 hours before she did homework to practice jumping with the horse, right? There was some coaching, but it was mostly considered an amateur thing. Now it's become, especially when it involves so many national ambitions and moments of national pride. Like, look at China. China made a whole thing of basically paying Chinese Americans who were good at winter sports to come over to China because they had no team whatsoever and they got tired of looking bad in the medal count. So I mean, it's a very different thing. I think Russia, however, does definitely have that tradition of you are doing this to prove the glory of the state in a way that the U.S. never has. And that, I think, definitely does corrupt in many ways the spirit of what the Olympics is supposed to be about, which is just who's a better athlete. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And I think that, this Winter Olympics and the previous one in Sochi have definitely kind of taken a little bit of the luster off this, in that it's really just about um, national propaganda. We have better, and in a way that it wasn't as brutal before. I mean, it was pretty brutal during the Cold War, but now it's just brutal for everyone.
Well, national propaganda and commercialism, capitalism, and shit. Like it's become, like you said, a different spirit. And don't get me wrong, I still think that there are phenomenal athletes. I just feel like they deserve better. I think the Olympics as a phenomenon, as a body, it's outdated. It's run its course. Nobody gives a fuck. And they did it to themselves. They did it when last year they decided to be absolute classist, racist pieces of shit for the Sha'Carri Richardson thing. And then this year you get into the territory with this fucking Russian girl, and everybody's just bending over backward to apologize for her and make exceptions for her. And I can't help but notice the only fucking difference is that she's white and she's a few years younger, but I don't see a whole hell of a lot of maturity difference between 20, 22, 21, whatever, and 15 in the regard of understanding drug stuff.
And also, I mean, you have to remember that, when you compete at this level, again, for my mom's generation, when they were doing it, I would have said there would have been a difference, right? There could have been a very good explanation for, hey, I don't really know about this. The coach just handed me some pills, and then I took them. He said it would improve my game. That we aren't living in that little fantasy bubble anymore, where people don't. In law we talk about reason to know, and when you're competing at an international level now in the 21st century, if you're 12, if you're 13, if you are anywhere above a certain age, about doping, because especially, and I want to point this out, and I pointed this out to some of your detractors when you were posting this stuff. This is Russia. They got caught building an entire freaking goddamn lab in Sochi just to cover up the fact that they doped every one of their athletes to the gills.
And what's pathetic is that they don't need to. Never mind the fact that Russia's had so many missteps that they're not there's all this fucking shit. I forgot how they're not recognized as a competitor. I forgot what all the fucking details are. Yeah. Like Russia's in so much deep shit. And of course, we're going to bag on Russia for at least half the time later. Yeah. But, it's in disciplined populations in the darker corners of the almost totalitarian world, it is not hard to create successful, dedicated sports performers. That's like saying that in North Korea, you need to drug people to generate adequate synchronous drumming displays. Like, what the fuck? Everybody is indoctrinated and disciplined. It's why all of Asia did better with COVID than we did. A whole culture born understanding how to take one for the team. You don't need to dope these people. If anything, you have the weed thing from Americans. Like, God, this bullshit sucks. I'm going to smoke a bowl. That's what Richardson did, and she got in the shitter for it, and it made me incredibly furious. I went out that day to buy edibles, and I wanted a pack of bright orange gummies in honor of her fucking hair. And I had to settle for fucking watermelon because they didn't have the goddamn tangerine in stock anymore, and I must not have been the only person with that idea.
Oh, first world problems.
Anyway, Willow, I love this. I still find it funny to consider weed a performance-enhancing drug. Yeah, exactly. And the punctuation on that thought, if this were a hot dog eating contest, it would make perfect sense.
No, I mean, I'll tell you. I look at some of those professional eaters and being like, that is a skill. Like, if you've ever watched the documentary about how they have to train their stomachs to get bigger, so that they can, I mean, it's insane. Also, what the fuck?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Brian points out fear is a drug. Fear is a hell of a drug, and look at what it does. So I just feel like maybe I'm speaking as a presumptive observer from a presumptive point of observation, but I don't think younger people have any reason to give a fuck at this point. Anybody that's Gen Z, Gen Y, they're coming into a world where all they've heard about is the corruption of the Olympics, the ruin that they leave behind when they go places. They've seen China put up fucking ski ramps next to goddamn nuclear wasteland looking shit. They've seen a very inspirational young woman get booted for smoking a fucking joint. They've seen a white bitch from Russia now get away with every fucking thing. And what was the other? There was one more. Oh, and the fact that China can't get a badass, sexy as hell model onto the snow slopes without stealing her from fucking California.
Well, and I also want to point one thing that has been mentioned also about these Beijing Winter Games. You want to know what it doesn't do in Beijing anymore? Snow.
Yeah, it's nothing but fake ass snow.
And in fact, several people have commented that perhaps some of the performance issues that have happened with people who came into these games, as favorites, has to do with the fact that they're using this slightly experimental artificial snow. It isn't just water and ice; it's water and ice and something else to help it stay frozen, and that it's actually causing some injuries, causing some problems. And my solution is, if we look back at the history of the Olympic Games, why are they called the Olympic Games? Because they took place at the foot of Mount Olympus. They didn't move it around. They didn't go to be like, oh, we're going to do it in Corinth this year. We're going to do it in Sparta this year. We didn't move it around.
And I get the idea of sharing the prosperity when it's not really.
But that's the problem. Is if it's no longer prosperous and winter weather is becoming harder and harder to come by, I think there is a solution to some of this corruption, which is let's go back to Sweden, Norway, or Finland, someplace that's cold, and just simply say that's where the Winter Games are each year.
Or,
we don't have to worry about building a whole new Olympic village that bankrupts the city anymore. We don't have to worry about any of this. We just simply say every 4 years, everyone shows up at this spot in Scandinavia, or, I don't know, fucking Iceland.
Or be realistic and just tell some people tough titties. You can't do the Winter Olympics. It doesn't snow where you are. And I was just checking the map to make sure I was not wrong. It doesn't get a lot more north with actual infrastructure and civilization than fucking Beijing. Like, it's not like you can just say, go further north. There's not a lot further north than China.
No, there isn't. I think there's a case to be made that we need to stop moving the Olympics around, because a lot of the corruption that happens is because of moving the Olympics around.
Yes. Yeah.
And people, bidding on, well, I can do it better than you. Well, I can do it better than you. Why don't we just pick a spot and say that's where the Winter Olympics is every single year? We can start the torch. I mean, if you want to have a moment of national pride, we can start the torch rally someplace else every year. That's fine. But let's just pick up a spot, and we can do the same for the Summer Olympics. Hell, you want to help Greece out? Let's just say every year we go back to friggin' Olympus. There we go.
Right? Yeah.
Problem solved. No one has to build a stupid Olympic village that ends up being a public waste. No one has to build a bunch of stadiums that cost billions of dollars that only get used on occasion. We can just have one giant sports complex that we all agree we're going to help out with, and we maintain that.
We could select a few sites. It could be like a Renaissance festival. You keep the shit sitting around, you use it for 1 month out of the year. And if you have the facilities, then you can host it on rotation. But if you don't have the facilities, get back to us when you develop what you need. Kind of like the Super Bowl, right? Like the Super Bowl has qualifications for what you have to have, and it travels. But I'm not sure that would improve because anytime a city bends over backwards to attract sports, it's always a lose.
Oh yeah, it's always a lose. The only exception that I can think of is Nashville with the NHL, right?
It took a while to make that a win, and it was arguably from a old ass arena. But now Nashville's facing the discussion of a new Titan stadium, which I'm very 50-50 on, because on one hand, that broke ass 90s shit is embarrassing. On the other hand, can Nashville stop having to buy a stadium every 3 years?
Yeah, that would be helpful. Also, where the hell are we? I mean, the state is going to try and demand that we stick it out in Williamson County. And
no, I think the discussions have been that the state's been backing all kinds of shit. And I have a theory that the only reason the state is all in at this point in Nashville is because all this shit sits in the different quadrants that they're carving out of fucking downtown.
Oh yeah, did you hear?
Once they get it done,
we made the front page of the New York Times.
Oh yeah, what they want to do
been carved up.
I think what they want to do is be able to let their future Republican representatives that get these districts claim these things as successes for their district that they had nothing the fuck to do with.
I'll tell you right now, and this again is a slight aside. We're slightly off topic here. I am super pissed at the state DNC because I still don't know what Democrat is running for my goddamn district. I have a list of Republicans a mile long, some of whom are crack goddamn crazy, but for some reason, the state Democratic Party won't put. Who are you putting up? Anyone?
I don't know either.
I'm. You know what? I'm ready to go down there right now and say, you know what? I'm running for state rep. For district. I know,
district right? 5. Yeah.
I'm running for state rep. I will go knock on doors and say I'll go do it.
We'll close this discussion of the ludicrousness of sports with Brian's championship dunk. The 2030 Winter Olympics in Congo.
Right.
That's exactly where we are at this point. Of course, Willow points out that there's plenty of snow to be had up in Canada. And that's why you should have some permanent locations you could rotate through. But
you know what?
Anyway.
You know what? I don't even like Alberta. And you know what, Willow? I'm more than fine with Calgary being a permanent location for the Olympics. I don't even like our North Texas neighbor.
Damn. North Texas. I love it.
It is so North Texas. It's so bad.
Well, that's enough about this rant. I could just get myself in trouble if I keep talking about it, but I'm so tired of it. I'm so over it. I really hope that younger generations don't give a fuck. Oh, I forgot Phelps. I was pissed about the Phelps thing as well. Though I thought it was hilarious that a stoner would end up on a cereal box for obvious reasons. But that was the other thing that degraded my impression of the Olympics was Phelps, even though, he's a swim bro. He's like the kind of guy I wouldn't have hung out with in high school, but it helped that he was a stoner. He's kind of got cool points, but it's just this outdate. Like, they don't move nearly as fast as culture. And I just feel like I know my son doesn't give a shit. My 15-year-old kid does not give a shit. Like, we'll watch stuff, but he doesn't care if it's Olympics or not. Like, it's just a sport on TV. It doesn't mean more because it's the Olympics for him. And I don't think the Olympics means anything because they've cheapened themselves because they a hoe. And that's my thesis.
I would love it if we could watch curling year round. But then again, I'm a Nashvilleian, and as anyone knows, Nashvilleians will watch anything that is played on ice because we live in a godless swamp.
Dude, curling is so weirdly fascinating to me. And apparently we can go places around here in Michigan and go do curling things. And I'm seriously wondering if I should try curling. It might be more successful than trying skiing. I'm also starting to realize, speaking of winter activities, I may have waited too late to pursue my interest in finding a snowmobile park, but I'm going to still have to look into that and see if we can squeeze it in. It's getting tight. I don't know if there's going to be enough time. But let's shift gears a little bit, David, because
my turn now. It's my turn.
While we're dealing with our pet peeves of the week, you brought this one to me, and I love it because it's all part of. Would you say that? Well, I mean, NFTs are notoriously in the same category as crypto, right? Like, it's usually financed with crypto. And I was taking a lot of schadenfreude in my industry because that fucking Coinbase ad that everybody thought was great with the bouncing QR code and the fucking Super Bowl, that jack off was stupid enough to go out there on social media, on Twitter, and say, ad agencies won't make this kind of ad. And then the lady CEO of the very agency that proposed it to him said, actually, we would have. It was on page number such and such of the proposal on this date. Like, she just brought the receipts on his bitch ass in front of all of Twitter, and then it erupted into essentially him getting roasted as being a know-it-all tech bro that thinks that he's the only genius in the room.
Yep.
And it was amazing. And so, like, we share this common disdain. I now have a disdain for crypto/NFT because of the way that the advertising world fell all over themselves until now to suck off this fucking ad. But now the negativity around is taking it off the top of the mountain, which is good because it really was not a good ad. And I hate to tell her it was a bad idea. I don't care if she thought it up, but you have a very interesting NFT gripe that I'm very excited about.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know what NFTs are, NFT stands for non-fungible token, which again sounds like something that, you know, some crazy person scribbled in shit on the wall of their, you know, fucking hospital room. So what it is basically any piece of art, whether it be sound, art, or, you know, a picture, whatever, that gets converted into a quote unquote unique item that is completely digital and is protected by blockchain, and so that you can verify its authenticity, right? So this is the image that you were sold by this, you know, person with it who had the right to sell this NFT, and so you can verify that this is unique, and then, you know, keep it in your collection, sell it, do whatever. Recently, some land developer that obviously had been given way too much money by some tech bros made this whole big deal about selling a house via NFT. God damn. And there's an explanation for how that works too.
I don't have a deed, but I've got this NFT certificate.
Well, no, I mean, but that's the thing. Like, you can attach a deed to an NFT with the way that, like, through these contracting rules that they have, which is kind of what we're going to go on to. So first of all, this is entirely bullshit. This is clip art. I actually, the reason.
Hold on, wait a second. Let me point out one silver lining. Yeah. Is it fair to say that blockchain is a somewhat respectable technology that comes out of this whole phenomenon? I mean, it's a form of authentication.
I hate blockchain. I'm not gonna lie. I hate blockchain too.
Different topic. I don't want to take you off.
You don't want to get me into this because blockchain is horribly wasteful, and I will be honest. At the end of the day, a useless form of encryption.
I like Brian's take. It's the fungible part that sounds so dirty. Yes,
right.
Yes,
so, and the reason I got on this, right?
Debbie Funges Dallas, maybe.
Oh, that's not right.
Plunging the fudge hole with Freddie.
Please stop.
Mother Fungers 2K.
Oh God, please
or what's the let's see, what is it that's so popular now? It's Stepsisters or whatever. So let's see, stepsister funges stepbrother while stepmother watches. There you go.
Who hurt you, Lucas? Who hurt you?
Brian thinks it sounds like mushroom porn. You're not wrong.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay.
So tell us about your mushroom porn, David.
So, yes. Fuck you. The thing that got me onto this topic was a classmate of mine from law school recently wrote this really great article, and it points out another problem with this whole market. I want to point out, I actually looked it up on online. Right now, you have NFT. You have the NFTs selling for as much as $69 million. $69 million, not for an actual physical piece of art, but for a piece of digital art that you can't actually hold or possess, unless I don't know. Maybe if you took it to a nice printer and they wanted to, jazz it up for you, you could have it on a wall. But otherwise, you can just look at it on your tablet or computer screen, and I'm sure that's great. Ew. So, which does actually lend itself to the porn analogy, though, doesn't it? But he pointed out this article by my friend from my classmate from law school pointed out it's very possible that all this work is not copyrighted. You can copy it. And the reason why is because the process by which these are converted. Now, for some things that are truly original works of art that they've converted into a digital format and then turned into an NFT, those are okay. But for a lot of these NFTs that people are trading around for, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000.
Right.
You can just copy it and sell a new one. And here's what.
What doesn't make sense to me is what the fuck protects it? Like, I'm gonna dive into this in a minute after you get done with the main beef here, but I've seen nothing to compel me that these are protected.
Well, that's the thing, is that they're supposed to be protected by blockchain to prove it's original, but original for whom?
Who cares?
The problem is that none of this stuff is protected. I can make a copy of probably about 3/4 of the NFTs that are out there, just copy the image and sell that as a new NFT. And even say, well, yeah, it's exactly like the other one. Only I'll sell it to you for, I don't know, $5,000 less. And I can do that because it's not protectable. And the reason it's not protectable is the process of making an NFT. Honestly, I thought about this, Lucas. We should make a brewing controversy NFT. I would be really excited to make it. If Jack Dorsey can make an NFT out of his tweet, which, by the way, is public domain. Yeah. see all these?
So
none of these are protected by copyright.
All right, I went diving in. So your classmate that had the piece that you referenced, they talked about this site. Now, Let me go back a stage. Oops, nope. Let me go over here. Oh, up. Okay. So there's this world of women. I'm sure someone out there that's trying to continue to move on their crusade to slander me is going to say that I'm only trashing this because it's World of Women and it's about women or whatever, but whatever the fuck, it was in the article. So there's this World of Women thing, profile, whatever the fuck this is, on OpenSea, where you can go buy NFTs. Here's my problem with NFTs. Ignoring the fact that all of these are fucking garbage canned illustrations that anyone with access to like bootleg Illustrator or whatever fucked up online version of a vector art suite, like, this is not art. It's not good, and it's fucking stupid. But watch, if I like Chica with the straw in her mouth, are there chicks that do this? That wear rave candy necklaces with eye tattoos and have Harley Quinn fucking dyed pigtails and then have a fucking weed in their mouth, whatever.
You should reference Pornhub.
This girl right here, I can zoom in and, oh, I'll be damned. Save image to downloads. Fuck, now I have a copy. If I want it to be the home screen or the lock screen of my phone, fucking magic. It's right there. I don't understand why anybody gives a shit enough to pay $18,000 to say that they have the bona fide original. Who the fuck cares?
But here's the problem: is that this is the point of the article, is that this is machine generated, and anything that's machine generated, like the idea that popped into my head about why we have these rules against machine generated copyrightable stuff is, let's say I'm a textile mill owner and I have a machine that makes a stitch at a particular rate along a piece of fabric. I'm not allowed to copyright that stitch, because otherwise the guy who makes the machine says, I can't sell it to anyone except for you now, right? Because you have the machine. Now you have the copyright for how my machine stitches.
Yeah.
So we don't allow anything that's machine generated to be copyrightable. This is all machine generated. And actually a lot of stuff, when you put it into the process of becoming an NFT, may become machine generated, because the computer algorithm, in order to create the image, has to disassemble it and then reassemble it. And at which point does it become a machine generated work? If it is, then it's not copyrightable. Anyone can take any one of these, turn right around and sell it again, and without consequence.
Literally, this is like the stock. This is like starting a video game, building your avatar. This is the whole library of avatar traits, just recombined and coughed up by a computer that thus meets none of the copyright standards. So the general thesis of the piece that you sent me that you're talking about was that all this protection and authenticity you think you're enjoying with the NFT it's
nothing.
Absolute horse shit. It's complete and total horse shit.
Even with music. Yep. Oh, hey, we got a banner for it. It's fun. And even with music, the problem is, since it has to be re-encoded by the algorithm to turn it into an NFT, there's again the argument that no, this is now a machine-generated piece of work. And the thing that this reminds me of, this entire NFT thing and the $60,000 reminds me of, in 1639. Yes, I am going to hit you with some fucking history right now. We need a banner.
Back.
We need a banner for like David is talking history again. In 1639.
You know what? I'm gonna remind me tomorrow at 1 p.m. to create a banner for David's time machine.
These cool flowers from Turkey started showing up in the Netherlands, and they were called tulips, right? Now we think about like the Netherlands as being like, oh, it's tulips and clogs and windmills and all this other thing, and weed, lots of weed, so much weed. Obviously not good for the IOC.
Sounds like Holland, Michigan. It's just 24 miles away. All the same traits, way cheaper travel.
But you had people buying contracts on what they thought were unique tulips being grown for the equivalent of 100 times the average person's salary, right? And they didn't actually even have the tulips in hand. They hadn't actually even sprouted yet. But I'll buy a contract. It was one of the first futures contracts as well of buying
unique to the plant or unique to the species.
So they started doing all these crossbreeds. The most expensive that it ever got was called the Augustus Simpair, which sold for, and I'm going to do a little bit of rough conversion here. It was 1,600 guilders, which in solid gold would be about 20 pounds of gold. Yeah, 20 pounds of gold for a red and white. You can look it up. The Augustus Simpair tulip. It was very unique at the time. But yeah, 20 pounds of gold for a field of red and white tulips.
Field.
Yeah.
Well, at least it was a field. It looks like a fucking candy cane.
Yeah. But I mean, when I say a field, I mean, I don't even mean a full acre. I mean like a quarter acre of tulips.
Okay.
Sold for 20 pounds of gold.
I mean, it's pretty. It looks like a candy cane.
But I mean, so, and the thing is, people kept on bidding up the prices. That's how it got up to this price. Is
right.
Well, I bought like this. I bought like the futures for this tulip at 20 guilders, which is
the whole thing's a circle jerk. I mean,
right. But then you turn around and you sell it to someone else for 30 guilders, right? 25 guilders, right. 30 guilders. And then they turn around and sell it. And it was this craze of if only I can just find someone else to sell it to, right? And then they'll turn around and sell those tulips. The thinking was, then they'll finally turn around and sell those tulips to someone else for a profit, right? But the problem is the profit never came, right? Because most of these contracts were never fulfilled. People just lost their shirts, but people just kept on bidding them up until finally people started to realize that people were borrowing money to go buy contracts to then try and sell them. And the entire thing collapsed. It's probably one of the worst financial collapses in economics history. Some economists say, well, it wasn't quite as bad. I'm like, no. You gutted the wealth of tens of thousands of people.
And that really, in most cases, is the problem. Like we've talked about with crypto, it's that the stupidest, brokest people are jumping into these things expecting some kind of mass investment. And yeah, it's fair to say that the whatever circle jerk of people decide something's worth something dictates the value to some extent. But the NFT thing drives me crazy because it's not tangible. This transformer behind me is currently worth $750. But the neat thing is you can't screen cap this broadcast and sell the postage stamp sized image of it.
You know what? According to NFTs, you can.
Well, but you don't have the original.
Our own NFT. We need to screen cap this and just start being like, you know what? This is worth $20,000.
Sounds like underpants gnomes. Step 1, steal underpants. Step 3, profit. I love it.
Right.
Also, Rob's here. Hey, Rob, what's up? Good to see you. He's rubbing it in your face with that profile picture there.
Hey, how are the LA Kings doing, Rob? How are they doing? Have they figured out that a goalie is a thing yet?
Are you really gonna bring the hockey smack talk?
You know what? I can with the LA Kings. Even if we're sucking, at least we're not as bad as the damn LA Kings.
I mean, listen, literally,
they are one step above the Detroit Lions of hockey. I feel okay smashing the Kings.
The Preds are literally one period in, tied 1-1 with the Florida Panthers on a losing streak of several games, home and away. So I'm skittish about trying to talk big shit
with the Panthers. I'm going to be okay with that.
But we will say this, as always, go Preds. So, I mean, aside from a lot of people losing their whole life savings of $4,000 or whatever, like, where does this ever, like, I don't know what
exactly. Like, what the hell were you going to do with all those tulips, right?
This is so much stupider than all the other bubbles.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Crypto at least gives the illusion that it's some sort of currency, right? It's not. It's a collectible, but it's some sort of currency. NFTs are so much worse in that there's no argument that there's some sort of currency. I also want to point out, at this point in the blockchain process, we have people going out to rural America, wherever they can find cheap hydropower. There's a county, I can't remember their name right now, in Washington, where they're actually having a problem with people showing up and buying small plots of land, and then all of a sudden these barbed wire fences go up, and then these shipping containers start going down with air conditioning units slapped on top of them. And what's going in the shipping containers is servers to just try and mine Bitcoin. And the reason they're there is because the hydropower is federally subsidized and cheap on top of that to begin with. So it's basically as cheap as they can get. We're talking about enough power to light Nashville for a year, going into mining sometimes as little as 1 Bitcoin.
I don't thoroughly understand the mining process. I've had it explained to me over and over again.
So the idea is that you have to. The idea behind this is why you said we weren't going to go into this, but I'll go into it really lightly. The idea behind blockchain is this: you verify that you have what's real by going back and verifying every single time it's changed hands.
I get that.
Right? So you have to go back and go through the encryption algorithm, for each step of the transaction process for the existence of that Bitcoin.
I get that.
Which takes processing power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way you earn Bitcoin, that's also the way you earn new Bitcoin, right? Is the system will give you a new Bitcoin for verifying the transaction history of X number of transactions will result in you receiving a new Bitcoin.
The problem I have with mining, like any other mining, is a material that exists in a place and you're just getting to it. This is imaginary fucking video game shit from the ether. It just, I can't.
I mean, I get the thinking. The problem is that I don't think they ever imagined what. I mean, this is the problem with tech bros, right? The problem with tech bros is maybe you did actually have a good idea, but the problem is you didn't understand what would happen if your good idea kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Always that.
It's like Facebook, right? Facebook never imagined that it would be involved in threatening fucking democracy.
Right.
Twitter never imagined that it'd be involved in threatening fucking democracy. I firmly believe the guys who started cryptocurrency never imagined that there'd be people going out to middle of nowhere places and setting up secure compounds with armed guards and stacks of servers to get as cheap power as they can to mine Bitcoin. I don't think that they thought about that.
What you're saying is the first guy that wiped the sweat off his turban and farmed some poppies never imagined Pablo Escobar.
No. And I think we need to acknowledge that this has gone too far. This is a collectible. This is not real currency. It has no real value. It has no intrinsic value, and right now it's incredibly environmentally damaging. With the amount of energy that it's taking to mine Bitcoin. But again, these NFTs are just going to add to that. And for what? For what? What have we gained other than, again, it's another tulip craze. It's another Dutch tulip craze.
It's a reasonable comparison.
And it's just people bidding up stuff that, and again, under law, may not even be yours. I mean, another point in that same article.
Or defensively yours.
Yeah, or defensively yours. Another point in that same article that I really loved, which is really my pet peeve, my special pet peeve, is I hate people who don't know how to write contracts. I hate that everyone who goes into law school has to spend the most brutal semester of their life learning Article 2 of the USC. Or pardon me, UCC. Not the USC. Everyone has to spend, and honestly, if you go to a halfway decent law school, the professor who's teaching you the UCC should be the most awful human being that you have ever met in your entire life. You should literally look at them and be like, I think that man eats babies, and I'm not kidding. And because it's so much of what legal work is policing that the UCC, especially Article 2 of the UCC, the Universal Commercial Code, and how to write a contract. I personally hate boilerplate. When people hand me contracts full of boilerplate, I will break out a giant black pen and just start marking off everything and rewriting in better English what the clause should say. Lucas knows. Lucas has seen me do this so many times. I'm like, no, I need to spend a day fixing this contract because it's written as utter shit. And apparently, again, these NFTs are filled, like as was pointed out, even with those World of Women contracts, right? That the contract that gives you the NFT, you may own it. You also may not actually own it. Right?
It's a mess, man.
It is so stupid.
And it's the dumbest fad. Like, I can at least wrap my head around the crypto fad, the NFT fad.
No. It's so stupid. I really want to. Jimmy Fallon, who took time on his show to flog his own NFT, and did it seriously, I really just want to look at, and there's so many celebrities now doing this. They've made a point. World of Women is backed by Reese Witherspoon.
Right.
There's so many. It is the dumbest
thing. Really know about what they're doing.
Pauper people.
Like, what do they know about what they're doing? They're just being told by somebody, "Hey, take this much of your money that you're not going to miss anyway, and we'll do this fucking thing, and maybe it'll be a thing."
Well, I mean, I hate personal financial managers. On top of that, I think I honestly, I could be down with dragging Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and all those people out in front of a wall and having them shot, but I don't necessarily know if it would actually achieve anything.
No,
I want the personal financial advisors. Those are the guys. Those are the guys I want put in front of a wall. I don't want, I want it to be very clear. You get no cigarette. You get no blindfold. And I'm not gonna shoot to kill. I'm gonna shoot you in the fucking leg first. Then I'm gonna shoot you in the other leg. I want to draw this out as long as I can because you fucking deserve it.
Well, on that pleasant note, I think we need a drink. So, if you just joined us, it's time to drink with us. If you're with us already, it's time for that second round because it's beer break time. And there it is. He's already stroking the shaft of his bottle. You've got to show that bottle off.
Okay, I do.
And be nice and deliberate and slow. Let it focus, because that is a beautiful bottle, nicely designed. This is East Nashville Beer Works Headless Train Conductor Belgian Quadruple, otherwise known as I'm getting a lot of drunk texts from you at 3 a.m. Tell us about that beautiful specimen of a beer that you got there.
So, Red's Wine and Spirits, where I'm a beer club member, has spent the past 2 years buying whiskey barrels from various distillers and then handing them off to brewers and telling them, hey, if you all could, please make a beer in this. Go ahead and age it. Oh, man, they really waxed the hell out of this top. Go ahead and age it, and we would like to buy the beer, obviously at slight discount, since we gave you the barrel for it, once it's brewed. So this comes from a group of barrels that were first used to store wine and then used to age rye whiskey, and then finally used to make this Belgian quadruple.
I'm more than a little jealous, though my Belgian experiences have been the worst hangovers. It's a 9.4%. It sounds amazing. I want to read this description.
I'm going to get this close to the mic so you can hear it pour. I mean, it even sounds sexy pouring. I don't know how, but it does.
Yeah, it doesn't really come through. But was it $20 or is that just the default price?
That's just the default price. I'm a beer club member, so it didn't cost me $20. Quite
nice. But it would be a $20 beer bottle.
It would be $20 if you could actually buy it. But it's beer club members.
Clearly a split up for two for like normal human beings. Nice.
I mean that is just.
So I don't know if this was printed on the bottle, but you didn't tell me about it earlier. So I'm going to assume it's not, but this description is on the Untapped database. And I just love this. A floating light mysteriously wanders down the railroad tracks and vanishes at the scene of the decapitation. This high-gravity beer pays homage to the unexplainable phenomenon. Beautiful notes of chocolate-covered oranges, toffee, caramelized sugar, and cherries in this traditional Belgian strong ale. Don't drink too much at once, or you might lose your head.
I tell you, it smells amazing. I get a little bit of the cherry. I'm already getting a little bit of the orange and cherry, and an afternote of chocolate. Oh wow! It is all those things.
Is it? Nice.
It's super smooth. There's I mean, with at 9.5, you're obviously going to get a little bit of that alcohol bite.
Yeah.
But I actually prefer that when we start going up into these higher, alcohol numbers. Not like to the level of Twinkie Throne Lies Empty. That was extreme. That was dark. It was very dark. Uh, we're always like for a reference of how bad it can get with a beer. I'm always from here on out going to reference Twinkie Throne Lies Empty.
As far as like gut punch, knock
Yeah.
you down.
Just like, oh my god, I'm dead. But no, I mean this is. Yeah, it's got a little bit of that orange flavor at the front, and then it has a chocolate mid, and it has this really nice cherry finish.
Nice. Sounds great.
It is really beautiful. It is. This was worth the wait, and for something that's been aged in whiskey barrels, because at work we make fun of East Nashville Beer Works because they did put out a aged in whiskey barrels porter, and the running joke that we've had with them is you're supposed to take the whiskey out of the barrel before you put the beer in, you fucking assholes. It tastes like beer whiskey. It's so bad. It's possibly the most awful like high graft beer I've ever consumed in my entire life because it feels like it's punishing you for having been born. It's so awful. Like you're like, I paid $10 for this. I'm gonna drink it, and like the entire time you're just like, it hurts. It hurts so much because you're expecting beer, and it's like either watered down whiskey with chocolate beer in it, or chocolate beer into which someone has poured like 2 shots of whiskey. So it doesn't really matter which. One thing that I'm kind of intrigued by is you can definitely tell they hand dipped all these bottles in the wax.
That's cool.
It is so hard to get off. I was actually surprised I had to do that. But I mean, it is it's really fruity for what I was expecting between the orange and the cherries.
Nice. Well, I'm going to share more from my New England field trip. I stopped in a little bit further south of where I was, went to Lowell, Massachusetts from southern New Hampshire to meet up with some friends. We met at a cool, hip little ramen place downtown, and then we absconded to Navigation Brewing. Really neat little place in kind of a warehouse space.
Oh, I finally get the semaphore flags. Okay.
And it's very homegrown. It's a couple guys that were making beer for the fun of it, and then it took off, and this is where they are. And I want to pull up the web page because the building they're in is super cool. So these guys, they have, I kind of like, I like their theme, their logo. But they're located in this place. First of all, I love their little mug club wall. It's pretty cool. They're located in this place called Western Avenue Studios. And the people I was with did not tell me that I was going to encounter the studios on the way to the bathroom. So I was heading down the hall to the bathroom and noticed all these fascinating little art studios. It's a 5-story like repurposed warehouse filled with artist studios and rooms. So you have this great like craft feel. There's maker space, there's the beer, there's the artists. It's like this really cool community vibe. And I tried a few good beers there. I couldn't buy all of them to take with me. I really wanted something that would be like a mix and match 4-pack like I got over at Spyglass, which I was talking about last week. But I was able to try a couple IPAs on site, and then I did not try the Winter Warmer. It was available for sale, so I bought a 4-pack. This is the pretty spiffy can design. Actually, I should just blow that up. I should have blown it up when you were showing the other one. So Navigation, Winter Warmer. It's a 10%er, and it is described adequately, I believe. Large beverage, 6 different malts plus sugar, generously hopped, dry hopped, 5 different varieties, and fermented with a huge dose of London extra bitter ale yeast, 11.5% actually. Dangerously easy to drink. So I'm going to try this guy out. This is the pour. It's actually, we need to have like a beer light that we put behind so you can see through and see what we get to see when you look through. It's just gorgeous. It's really nice. It has a pretty welcoming aroma. It smells like a beer's beer. Oh man. Oh, that's good. It's very complex. It's rich. I feel like this is a lot like that. Remember that rock and roll beer that Yazoo did a couple years ago? What was that thing called?
Beer called Sue?
Mm-mm. There was like a limited release. I can't remember the. I'm trying like desperately to look the damn thing up because I can't remember the name of it. It was so good. It was a very limited edition. And it was a couple of years ago. Let me see. Limited edition collab. I think it was a collab. Apparently there's some kind of soft drink or chocolate milk called Yazoo, which is throwing off my whole fucking Google search. Is this guy? Is it this guy? Might be this guy. Hang on, let me find it. Nope, that's not it. Well, shit, I'll have to look it up sometime and figure that out because it really reminds me of that. It just really has like a solid, good ale body to it that's still very drinkable. That description of dangerous fits.
It's got that malt with the hint of hops to it, right?
Yeah, well, there's like a real sharp, bitey hit that goes away almost immediately, somewhere in the middle. And it's really like there's a lot going on. I didn't know for sure if I would want to drink this beer after it warms up in the summer or the spring. I was worried about having to buy the 4-pack because I thought I'm going to get tired of this heavy-ass winter warmer being around. But actually, you could almost slam one of these and mow the lawn.
This I would not slam. I'm going to be honest. This is not something I'm ever going to slam. Yeah. I will say this. One thing that surprises me as opposed to the again, because I got to compare it since it's high alcohol to Three Floyd's Twinkie Throne. I can see through this. Like, I can still see the carbonation.
Yeah, I was actually, like, when you ducked out, I was talking about how we need to have a beer light that we can hold up behind our beers because it's beautiful with light behind it, but you don't get to see that when we're on the screen. It's just kind of...
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, Navigation Brewing Winter Warmer, man. The good thing I have 4 of them. If I can ever get you up here in the reasonable future, you'll have one saved for you. I love that when we do the beer break, Brian will often bring us the extended review on whatever it is that he's consuming or smoking at the time. And we might have to do a special feature with like Brian's top 5 crossfades, so that those that like beer and they can always get the tips on how to combine. I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but it always reminds me when Brian starts talking that I don't know nearly enough about marijuana products because there's a whole world. Like, I'm barely learning beer shit. I can't even begin to keep all the other stuff straight.
No, I mean, I have my tobacco, which is actually fairly simple because I do actually care about hey, where is my tobacco grown? How is it aged?
Right.
What happens to it? And I care about my beer. If I had to add pot to that, I would have to be employed as a journalist in some capacity because otherwise all I'd be sitting here is doing research on beer, tobacco, and pot. So,
well, this one's pretty. This one's got a lot going on. I'm digging it. I'm gonna be careful and pace myself because right down the street at Blue Dog Tavern, they're doing 2 taps from each of 3 breweries that are on the coast of Lake Michigan. Saugatuck, Grand Armory, and Ludington, which is from my better half's hometown, and they're a very good brewery. So tonight it's Coast Party at the Dog, and there's evidently swag going on, and they're pouring bourbon barrel aged double Neapolitan stout, which automatically sounds like my bag.
Yeah, we need to punch through this so that you can go ahead and throw that down your gullet, man.
Maggie's Irish Ale, Crop Duster IPA, Cloudy with a Chance of Hops Double IPA, Vanilla Jitterbean Cream Ale, and Tangelo Dream Pale Ale. I hope they're pouring sampler sizes because I cannot drink 6 additional pints.
Sure you can, Lucas. I've seen you do it.
No, I
mean, not be functional the next day or during, but I mean, I've seen you do it.
So that means we should probably mow through this last part, the most egregiously pain in the ass topic that we can't escape. We didn't choose this main feature of discussion, ladies and gentlemen. It chose us.
It really did.
Mudda Russia.
I mean, we can't not talk about like the fact that we're approaching World War III. Apparently, Ellis Air Force Base has gone to DEFCON 3. Every SAC Air Force Base has gone to DEFCON 3.
I saw an opinion piece earlier today.
Hold on, just to clarify for those of you who don't know what SAC means, Strategic Air Command is the part of the Air Force that's responsible for delivering the nukes. Just so we understand, when I say every SAC Air Force Base, that means every Strategic Air Command base is now being like, hey, remember when we used to like fly bombers towards Russia just in case the order came? Like right then, we're doing that again.
Yeah. I don't know that I ever thought Mitt Romney was wrong, but I saw an opinion piece today. It's time to admit it. Mitt Romney was right about Russia. I don't think I ever thought he was wrong. I just liked the fact that my boy knocked him for it. So when he said in a debate that Russia was a big threat and Obama lambasted him for living in the 80s, yeah, I thought it was a good dig, a good hit for my guy. But I felt that Russia and Al Qaeda were equally bad, and both needed to be on the radar. And now we're seeing Romney was right about Russia. I can't argue with that sentiment, but I never thought he was wrong.
No, I mean we are now. The thing is, this is what I point out to people. Like this is a classic Russian strategy, and I was talking to someone earlier, and I'm like, this is why Putin is doing this. Putin went into Transnistria on the border of Moldova, expecting it to get a rise out of the West, because the entire thing that Russia's going through right now is this. In the 1990s, you told us that capitalism, like raw, unrestrained capitalism, was going to make our lives better. And instead, it made our lives a living fucking hell. It made it so much worse. You all did this to us. You all did it to us, in the Russian mind, on purpose. Instead of, no, we had a bunch of dicks who we just weren't paying attention to. And, well, you bought them, and then you were left holding really bad dicks. And we're sorry about that. We should have done something. We should have said something. Unfortunately, we were also buying the bad dicks, which is why, real wages haven't risen properly in 70 fucking years.
I like Brian's feedback here. Patton was right about Russia.
Patton wasn't right about shit. I want to clarify that right now. Patton wasn't right about if Patton actually took a shit, he would not be able to appropriately describe the fact that he took a shit.
I don't know, man. His take on Russia isn't too bad, but
I mean, here's the problem with, and this is the issue that we don't remember from when we were little kids.
I want to point out before you go nostalgic on me. I want to point out last week you demonstrated on a map that Russia was likely to try to cleave the Ukraine nation or country into at least some percentage sliced off for Russia. And Putin's actions in the last 24 hours did a piece of exactly what you described. And you and me bloviate a lot. You know, both of us probably step outside of real knowledge and let ego fuel some of our statements. And we're each full of shit sometimes, and it's fine because we're drinking beer. And anytime we fuck up, we can blame it on the beer. You nailed it on that one, because the first couple of segments have been carved off. And at the very least, this is going to continue to a point that he takes those two sections off as independent.
Well, I will explain why he's after this, which is, so when we sold them capitalism and we wrecked their relationship with any sort of pride or ego that they had for being Russians, they looked around, they said, you did this to us. And then so much of Russian sentiment has been, we're going to show you, we're going to make sure that you never do this to us again. The shock capitalism that we did to them in the 90s, or that they kind of did to themselves. But we're going to show you, you won't do this to us if we're strong, right? If we're strong. And how do we prove to you that we're strong? Well,
Russia strong like bear.
Right? They have to prove that they're strong. And so Putin is locked into this cycle of never-ending escalation, and he has to find a way to escalate. In the 90s, he tried to escalate with Transnistria, but no one gave a shit because it's Moldova, number one. Number two, he couldn't make anything out of it because if he advanced into Moldova from his little strip of a know-nothing country, right, it would have triggered a NATO response, and he couldn't do that. So he just has this little tiny strip of Moldova called Transnistria, and no one cared. So next he tried to go into Georgia, right? And to Abkhazia and South Ossetia. And we did care a little because Georgia is a little bit more important than Moldova. But in reality, let's just be fucking honest, not that much. No one cared that much that the Russians were bombing Georgia. If they had gone all the way into Tbilisi, there would have been a problem. But they didn't. They stopped because Russia didn't want an actual war, and NATO made some pretty clear noises of, if you go into fucking Tbilisi, I'm going to shove my whole fucking fist up your ass. Please don't. So Russia didn't go into Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia, and they just carved off these two little fucking sections that the Georgians didn't really govern to begin with, because they were full of angry pseudo-Russians who aren't Russians, who aren't. It's a long fucking story involving Caucasus history. They're like this special little, like, I don't know, creature that lives in a valley, the South Ostian, who only lives in that particular valley of South Ostia, and the Abkhazian, who only lives in that special little valley of Abkhazia. No one cares, and honestly, at the end of the day, no one cared. So he didn't get the rise out of the West that he needed out of Georgia. He got a little bit of a rise. Then he went after Friesland for a hot second. And then he realized, NATO may actually try and stop me from taking pieces of the Baltic states because they're NATO members. I have gone a bridge too far. Okay. So he did that. And he was fine with that. And now he's arrived on his newest fucking escalation path, which is the Donbass, which is, I can escalate with the West, and by escalating with the West, I prove to my own people I am in charge. I am important. I am going to restore the Russian Empire. And the problem is that once
he's such a tryhard right now. Like he's the fucking asshole with the big jacked up pickup truck and the truck nuts.
But the thing is, he's not stupid. He's just locked into a path right now, right? His problem is that if he could de-escalate this situation, I feel like he would. But the problem is he can't, because if he de-escalates, then he looks like he's not doing the "we're strong Russia" anymore. And if so, he's got to escalate further. He, I think, expected the same reaction. And let's just be honest about Obama, because I will be always honest about Obama. The ACA was wussy and not appropriate, not good enough. There's a lot of things that Obama did where he could have, if he just grabbed his sack and said, "I'm going to do it," but instead he didn't want to look like the angry black man.
Obama, our boy, but he did a lot of half measures. I will.
And the problem is that when he took Crimea and Obama didn't immediately send the Atlantic Fleet up the Bosporus into the Black Sea and encircle that shit. As far as Russia was concerned, well, you won't stop us. And so, but
Right.
now, but he saw a rise out of the West, and so now he needs the next rise. He needs the next hit of Western anger to show his people, look, I angered the West for what they did to you. And I don't think that but the problem is he can't pull back, because if he pulls back, and it's very true, the way you get deposed from where he is right now is you get pulled into a courtyard of the Kremlin and someone puts a pistol against the back of your head. That's where he's at. And
So
he can't do it.
I'm gonna fuck these up, but Donetsk and Luhansk are the two. Yeah, Luhansk is easy. I can deal with that train wreck of consonants, but Donetsk is a little bit rough. But what the fuck ever. When you look at it on the map, I'm totally cheating over here on a different window. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny little piece, but it's still bragging rights. It's still, like Brian's comment earlier, it's still, wagging around the BDE. I want to point out what Rob threw into the mix here, and I'm pointing it out because I went and fetched a clip. Let's do what we did in the 80s since Stallone character. I really feel like a lot of people are missing the indoctrination that a lot of us enjoyed to identify who the enemy is here. But if he dies, he dies, which of course...
If he dies, he dies.
I had to go fetch the clip.
It's hilarious that he's a Swede.
I'm really bothered by the sheer volume of people that don't remember who the bad guy is. You got Candace fucking Owens.
Oh, Jesus. Not even that. No.
Out here trying to talk about how Biden is making all of this up and it's all part of the Hunter Biden laptop fucking conspiracy theory. And you got, all the Trumpers don't remember that Russia's the enemy because they helped him win. And it just blows my mind. I mean, like, even the debate that we were having the other day about the little figure skater bitch was partly based in a younger person coming at me about my staunch anti-Russian opinions. I'm just never going to let it go. And I said that in the thread. I'm never, ever, till the day I die, letting go of Russia as an enemy.
I mean, here's the thing. There was definitely a moment in the 90s where there was an opportunity for Russia not to be the enemy. There was a definite moment. And part of that had to do with the fact that Yeltsin was okay with Russia not having an empire. Yeltsin was okay with, you know what? We did it to the Swedes, and now it's our turn. The Swedish Empire used to be a thing. The Swedish Empire used to run the Baltic like it was their fucking backyard. There used to be a thing called the Swedish Empire, which most Americans are like, you mean the neutral people? Yeah. Yeah, they used to be giant badasses. They used to be giant, like, I will kill you rather than look at you badasses. And eventually the time came when they had a few losses, and they're like,
it's always the quiet ones.
it's not worth it anymore. We're done. We're going to back off the empire. We're gonna like sit here and like do ice sculptures and fucking Stockholm things, and just I don't care, because they could, yeah. So, I mean, the problem is for Russia is that they're in that position. I mean, Britain sometimes has little flashbacks of, we have an empire. No, you don't. No, you don't. Listen, like, do we need to give you your meds again? No. No,
Don't
Grandpa.
joke about meds. The Queen has COVID. It's all. It's so.
Right. But
I don't want to be. I don't want to be an asshole. This is off topic, but I don't see this coming around to a good result. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying Charles.
How old is she?
93.
My grandfather will turn 95 if he makes it to April. So I shouldn't be saying this shit, but don't be fucking around getting COVID in your 90s. It's not good news.
No, there's a good chance King Charles is.
Oh, she is 95, according to Rob. What's funny is all those people are so fucking ancient that we won't even notice the difference. Like the next one just is fucking crusty.
Well, I mean, Charles isn't that old.
Old enough.
Yeah, he's in his 50s.
It's not the age. What is it? It's not the. Oh God, I have the quote on my personal website and now I can't remember it. It's the mileage.
Right? No, I can. I would say for the sake of the future of the British monarchy, we can only hope that Charles has the good sense to abdicate. And
it's not the years, honey. It's the mileage.
Yeah,
and
I mean, have you seen Prince William? Like, I'm like, okay, listen, I'm over 35 at this point. Me and William are about the same age, but I don't look that old.
Dude,
Jesus Christ!
Like, I don't understand why.
Like, what? Once they hit like 35, they're just like,
oh God. Yeah.
Like,
meanwhile, all of Asia is over here.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. If I told someone I was 34, I could pass for a rough 34, right? If you told someone you were 34, even you could pass.
I get 30 something all the fucking time.
You could pass.
The Brits, for some reason, you're right. There's a fucking crash in the mid 30s.
There is no fucking way Prince William is passing for anything under like 40.
And meanwhile, South Korea,
right?
You got like 80-year-old women that look 25.
No, that's okay. I wouldn't hit that. That's not okay. That scares me now.
Dude, down the hall from my old office at the sushi place was a 50-something-year-old Korean server who was all of the bang on. Like that lady was smoking hot in her 50s.
I don't know how I feel about this.
How you feel about this is when I tell you that her 20-something daughter was even more smoking hot, and I definitely had that mental image.
All right. Anyway,
Bob says Prince Charles is looking like Biden these days, and Brian points out those crazy ass teeth. Blimey!
It is. Thank you, America. You know what? For all the conspiracy theorists like hating on it, thank you, America, for fluoridating the water.
I guess so.
But I mean, the real problem that's with Putin is that he's got to constantly escalate, and he doesn't have a good way back. He doesn't have a good way back that doesn't involve him with a bullet in the back of his fucking head.
You are pussy. We execute you in square.
Well, I mean, basically, yeah, that's what he's got. And the problem is if they get kicked off Swift, then he's also got a bullet in the back of his head. Because
what do we do here, dude? Like, I can be a warmonger all I want.
Well,
but
personally, I want us to bring back the Lincoln Brigade. Can we please bring back the fucking Lincoln Brigade? I would love that. That would also piss off the conservatives so much. For those of you who don't know what the Lincoln Brigade was, the Lincoln Brigade was a brigade of American volunteers who went to go fight against the fascists in Spain during their Civil War. They were incredibly brave, incredibly effective. They were hailed for at least slightly as heroes until we decided we didn't like communists. which because the Soviets
Sounds
helped.
like that would be a good movie or limited series. I would
Right?
watch 6 episodes of that.
The Lincoln Brigade? No, the Lincoln Brigade was they were incredibly brave heroes. Hemingway. You want to know where Hemingway like got his shit? Hemingway was a member of the Lincoln Brigade.
Rob points out, in Mother Russia we shoot pussy. Yes.
Right.
Brian tells me Gary Cooper made a movie about that. Maybe I'll have to go check that out. I would love to see a modern revival of that.
Yeah, no,
that sounds like a good story.
The Lincoln Brigade. I would love us to raise another Lincoln Brigade. I would love us to raise another Lincoln Division to go send to Ukraine and have them help the Ukrainians.
Well, let me ask you this: in your opinion, like if they bring all their shit into Ukraine,
yeah,
where it's officially a contested war zone,
yeah,
can we / should we just come along and fucking toast all of it?
Here's the thing. Fantasy version of me says yes, and we should. The problem is that there's two major problems. Number one, it takes us forever to fucking mobilize. It's going to take, like the Russians have already had 6 months to mobilize. It takes France, Germany, everyone else. If Germany actually fucking shows up, you fucking crowd fucking fucks. Fuck you. Fuck your helmets. Fuck your helmets. For those of you who don't know what my bitch about the German helmets is, so everyone else is sending Ukraine like here's as many bullets as we can fucking find that aren't nailed down. Here's as many missiles that we can find that aren't fucking nailed down or accounted for. And Germany turns around and says, here's 5,000 helmets. Fuck you. Fuck you, you Kaiser cocksucking motherfuckers. I'm sorry. Do you still have a little bit of Hitler in the ear? Is that what's happening? Like, why the fuck are you just sending fucking helmets?
But like in reality, like are we talking about are we talking about literal, the shit we grew up with everybody fires their nukes all at once, we're all fucked? Or is there a certain level of modern restraint where
so
if he pushes past these separatist areas and he legitimately has his military resources in country, I want Biden to grow a pair and say, fuck defending NATO. We're going to defend Ukraine and bomb the fuck out of these fucking Ruskies.
So here's the game with the nukes. And this is something that people don't understand about the nuclear issue right now. First of all, let's just be on let's hit the first thing first of conventional forces. Right now, about half of Russia's conventional forces don't work at all. Period. End of sentence. They are like the Chinese, a paper tiger, right? Everyone's like, oh, the Chinese Air Force is so big. Half of them don't even have like chaff in the fucking plane, which means that if I fire a heat-seeking missile, it's going to go straight up your ass every single time. They're a paper tiger, right? Can they put on fixed defenses? Yes, because those are cheap. People complain sometimes, and I think justifiably, about how much America spends on its military. But on the other hand, except for the fucking Pacific Fleet, which is a whole other fucking conversation about fucking goddamn it. Anyway, our money is well spent for the most part. We have a lot of cool shit that works every single fucking time.
I mean,
the whole point. So Russia,
unless you count training accidents and Humvee rollovers, yeah, okay,
right, okay. So technically, Russia has 10,000 fucking tanks, but the problem is only 2,000 of them fucking work, and they're all T-72s, which is a 40-year-old tank. Now, technically, I will point this out. Technically, the M1A2 is technically also a 40-year-old tank, except we've spent the past 40 years. It's sort of like the conversation: is it still the same axe if you break the handle and put a new handle on? Is it still the same axe if then you shatter the axe head and put a new axe head on. Is it still an M1A2? These have been upgraded significantly, and we have about 6,000 of them, and they all work.
Right. Yeah.
So that's number one. We have veteran combat trained troops. We don't have as big a reserve as Russia, but our reserve is better and again better equipped. Our also survivability of combat for all our troops is significantly higher than Russia. In a war, like the whole point of the nukes during the Cold War was this: Russia had 8 divisions of tanks ready to go, fueled up and working for every one that we could put on the West German border. So the only response that we could possibly have to a Russian attack was nuclear war, right? That was the only way we could possibly stop the Russians. We had to fucking nuke them. That is no longer the case. As a consequence, it also means that the Russians have let their nukes go by. Our nukes are still tip top. Do I think that we're going to? Are we in a situation where we're all going to fucking nuke each other? No, I don't think so. I think that there will be at least 1 or 2 Russian generals who would march into the Kremlin and put a bullet in Putin's head before they're like, "No, we're going to lose this shit."
So, here's what concerns me is that Biden, and I don't know if he's paying lip service. I don't like the emphasis that he put today on we will defend NATO territory. I don't like that emphasis at all.
Well, no. Here's why I like that emphasis, because Putin isn't after the Ukraine. That's not what wins him the big golden apple. And I showed this on the map last time.
Yeah.
What he wants is the Baltic states. He wants the Baltic states. He wants a clear path to Kaliningrad. That's what he really wants. That's the big, I've restored the Russian Empire, is taking back the Baltic states and restoring a path to Kaliningrad. That's when he can, that literally, if he does that, he can go down to the fucking Russian museum, grab the Romanov crown and put it on his fucking head, and they'll be okay with it. I mean, but the Ukraine is not. Oh God, I can't remember the name of the Sultan. Mehmet? Was it Mehmet? Might have been Mehmet. The Ottoman Turks called what was then called Constantinople the apple of the world, as the thing that they, as a people, most desired to conquer and take and prove that they had become a worthy empire, right? To take Constantinople, which they eventually did, renamed Istanbul. To Putin, the Baltic states are the apple of the world. If he can take Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and restore a clear land bridge to Kaliningrad, that's what he's after. And the problem is that Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are all NATO members. He expected that the NATO members might balk at defending the Ukraine as much as they have. If they would balk, maybe they would balk at defending 3 tiny, basically, if we're being completely fucking honest, city-states at the edge of the Baltic Sea, without much economic or political or anything. Although I will say this: Jesus, Mary and Joseph, those are the hottest goddamn women you have ever seen in your life. So, have you seen the Estonian Prime Minister? Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh.
Brian points out Putin wants Kiev. I think he's right about that. I think if you look at the water boundary, I think Putin wants to take eastern Ukraine.
Putin couldn't give a shit about. Here's the thing. I think.
Hold on, David. Wait a minute. Let me paint this. It's harder to paint the picture without a map, but I don't want to patronize people with a map right now. You can go look it up. Ukraine is basically divided 50-50.
What did you say about last week? Huh? I had a map.
Yeah, but I don't have one prepared. I don't have one prepared, and I got a bunch of good beer down the street. So Ukraine is divided almost 50-50 by a river at varying degrees of width, including some lakes. But you could draw a natural boundary down the middle of the fucking country. And Kiev sits right smack in the middle of that. You have to notch out a border one way or the other to include Kiev.
He didn't give a shit about it.
I think he sees Kiev as the gateway to the restored USSR. I think he wants to carve that motherfucker off and have Eastern Ukraine as one of the states of his circle jerk fantasy fucking revived Soviet Union.
No.
Along with these two fucking chuckle fucking provinces that he stepped in.
Give a shit about Eastern Ukraine. It's very simple. He wants to show that Russia can project military power, right? He wants to show that Russia can project military power. There is only one power which controls entrance or exit from the Black Sea. That's Turkey. That's it.
Yeah.
So he can take the whole of fucking Ukraine, and it still won't matter. He still has to kiss Turkey's ass to get his fleet out the Bosporus.
I think if he's trying to project power, the United States needs to take his projector and use our projection of power to shatter his fucking ball.
But let me finish. So, on the opposite end of the world, right? Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Kaliningrad. The Baltic Fleet is, in Russian history and in the Russian mind, the pride of Russian military, right? The pride of the Russian military is always the Baltic Fleet. This is, again, something that we don't get as Americans. It doesn't really make any fucking sense that a mostly landlocked country should consider a fucking fleet and a very small sea to be the pride of their military. But I'll be damned if the Russians don't do it, right? The Baltic Fleet is the proof that we are an empire. The Baltic Fleet only has one genuine port right now, which is Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad, I can't resupply Kaliningrad from anywhere other than the fucking sea. St. Petersburg is a shitty fucking port, and I need to retake Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania in order to establish a land bridge to fucking Kaliningrad. Right?
So you're thinking, and now I am looking at, what the fuck? Fine, David. You get your role.
Pull up a map. It's Kaliningrad.
I'm going to scale this goddamn window on Google Maps, and we're going to go here. So hold on. Let's see. Share. All right. So what you're talking about is right here.
That's Kaliningrad.
So he's cut off from that.
Exactly.
Who is that its own independent nation?
No, that is Russia. That is part of Russia. That is still part of Russia.
Okay. So what you're saying is he wants to be able to take into the Russian Federation.
Yeah.
Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania.
And then establish a clear path to Kaliningrad. Because here's the thing.
Is Belarus already considered part of the fold?
Yeah, basically. Belarus is a Russian puppet, so it doesn't matter.
And for those playing at home, previously there was this whole...
yeah, but again, go south.
Crimean Peninsula. Now, Crimea is still independent but affiliated?
No, they are officially, because of Putin, now an official part of Russia.
They're part of Russia. Okay.
Go south. This is the
Well, hold on. I want to make sure people understand, like, this piece here is where he has pushed in this edge right here. And also because Americans are really, really shitty about perspective of sizes.
Yeah.
This whole fucking bullshit is roughly Texas.
Yeah.
We are fooled by the media and the hype into thinking that a lot of places are bigger than they are. They're not.
So
So
guys out there,
you're talking about Black Sea, and you're pointing out that to go through and
problem
get
is,
out to the world,
if he wants to project power and prove that Russia is strong, he has to pass through Turkey.
he's got to be able to go through Turkey to get out.
And so he has to kiss Turkey's ass to get the fuck out. But at both points, at both the Bosporus and the Hellespont.
Yeah, but over here, doesn't he have to still doesn't he have to
no,
deal
because
with...
Sweden is neutral.
Oh, motherfucker! All right,
Yeah, that's right. Sweden is neutral. Although this whole event is possibly pushing Sweden into membership in NATO.
I do need to point out though, my water boundary thing. Look at this. Look, if you follow whatever the fuck this
Dnieper
is,
River,
yeah, Dnieper River. If you follow this,
the Dnieper, whatever.
look at this. If you draw a new border right here,
yeah,
right here,
fucking accept that to save their fucking lives.
I think he wants to carve this whole fucking side off.
He doesn't give a shit. And here's
It's already
why.
connected to Crimea. It fits like a glove.
He doesn't give a shit because that's not what he wants. What does that gain him? What has he gained when he takes everything up to Kyiv? Nothing.
Arguably, he could just carve it off and let him have Kyiv. Like, I see this as a possible East-West Germany part G.
What he wants is Kaliningrad. He wants Kaliningrad, and because if he takes the Baltic states and retakes Kaliningrad, then he is now czar.
Can't they just sail all their shit out of St. Petersburg? I mean, what the fuck? Why does Kaliningrad matter?
Because Kaliningrad has the deep water port. St. Petersburg sucks as a fucking port.
Okay.
St. Petersburg sucks so fucking hard. Listen, in the age of sail, St. Petersburg was great. That was the entire purpose of building St. Petersburg.
Gotcha.
There was actually like the whole war between the Russians and the Swedes was the Russians wanted that little piece of land so that they could build what was comparatively a warm water port where they could sail ships out, right? All year long. The problem is that once we hit, the modern era, it's a shitty fucking port. It's not good. There's just not enough land or anything else to sail ships out. So
I feel like we're playing like a imaginary theoretical Risk over here.
It is a little bit. It is a little bit. We are so over time. Oh my
god. Yeah, we're doing okay. Okay, all right, fine. We're at 1:45, but
yeah, we're still over time.
I don't know. I love the fact that what you kind of talked about last time was close to this, and we don't know where it's going to end up.
Take note, department.
I just
take the job.
Okay, so in the Gulf War, we found that they were basically pussies and totally unenthusiastic, and they were willing to surrender and walk away. Is there a form of that could be a thing here? Can we?
Here's the thing: I don't think the Russians actually want. The last thing Putin wants is actual war with NATO. I think that if Biden was actually to the one holdout right now, I feel, is Germany. France a little bit, but not as much. But Germany is the one holdout. They really don't want to go to war. They're really afraid of the fact, and arguably, I get it, which is half their population lived under Soviet rule. The other half didn't, and they developed a giant fear of what happens if we go to war. They also have a very hardcore stance against militarism, which makes sense. We don't actually want to go fight. If NATO votes to go to war, and I think that they should, I think they should go in and defend Ukraine. I think they should say, hey, we're mobilizing. We're going to go send our troops into Ukraine. We're going to go retake the Donbass. We're going to go make sure that your forces aren't there. This is a neutral country. We will defend their neutrality. There is precedent, international legal precedent for that, right? an alliance coming in and saying, no, we will defend your neutrality. Portugal is a classic example of that. Many countries, especially Great Britain, for years, when the British Empire was a thing, they defended Portuguese neutrality, right? Swedish neutrality has been regularly defended. Swiss neutrality has been regularly defended. The right of the Swiss, of the Helvetian Confederation, the Swiss, to be neutral. I think since Ukraine is not an official ally of NATO, of the West, or anyone else, it is within the rights of NATO to say, hey, we will act to defend the sovereignty of a bordering neutral country to make sure that they do not fall under your control.
So you think that if NATO were to decide, hey, we're helping out Ukraine, that's the back door for what Biden said to still be true?
I think at this point, with Russia's behavior, we have to go ahead and accept Georgia and Ukraine as members of NATO. We have to, at this point, we need to go back to the fucking Iron Ring.
Is it an issue of accepting or an issue of them asking? I mean, do they want in?
It's accepting.
Okay. Well,
because NATO rules say you can't actively be involved in a conflict, and you have to have territorial integrity.
I mean, they are kind of actively involved in a conflict.
Exactly. So we would have to adjust the rules to accept the NATO.
So, do you think any of this financial sanctions shit is gonna?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be devastating.
You think it's gonna do anything?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
But what if he backs off because of that? Isn't he still getting shot in the fucking Kremlin Square?
Yeah, he is.
So what the fuck? He's like, I mean, why would he back off due to sanctions?
He's just, well,
I mean, he won't.
Someone's going to shoot him in the head. That's why. I mean, literally, he has no good solutions. He has no good options. He's backed himself into a corner.
So is this a game of just sitting back and waiting for the madness to take its full toll, and he's just offed by his own fucking people? And then another fuckwad takes over, and here we are again.
The longer we play the game, the more opportunities he has to find an off-ramp, right? The irony is, if we escalate,
I would rather him not find an off-ramp and be dead. How do we get to the part where Putin is dead?
So in the side option, this is where Obama was playing, and I understand the logic of it, but it doesn't actually work out. So Obama was playing the game of, the longer we play the game, the more chances you have for an off-ramp, and we don't have to fight. That's where Obama was looking. The problem is that if we escalate further, then I cut off your chances for an off-ramp. You either have to put up or shut up or die. And that's where we need to put Putin right now, which is, I would argue that we need to go ahead and mobilize, say, listen, I'm going to start landing my troops in Ukraine, and because Turkey is a member of NATO.
I mean, I feel like we should
through the Bosporus just fine.
I feel like we should have amassed a 1-to-1 ratio of troops along the other side of Ukraine the whole fucking time. I mean,
that's a lot of troops, but Putin is in an impossible situation, and the problem is it just keeps on getting more impossible every day that passes. So
that's true. That's true. Well, I hope it just deflates all of a sudden, but I also really want Russia to get a black eye. I'm really tired of their bullshit. I really want Russia hurt.
I mean, and the thing is, I think they're going to try to invade Ukraine. I think they will suffer horrendous casualties in the process. I think that their ultimate goal is to try and take back the Baltic states. And I think that they want to use this as a test case to see what's going to happen. And I don't think they're going to like the answer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I guess we'll find out if we're still covering this shit next week. Maybe we won't subject people to a whole hour of bullshit. Maybe it'll be quick and easy. You can just rail on some obscure historical fact, or maybe it'll all get settled out and the new border is the river and I get to do a victory lap and walk all over.
No, it's not going to be
anyway. We do try to keep a time limit of 2 hours max, so we will be good boys and jump out of the way. But we hope everyone has a great week. If you were lucky enough to be in a corporation that observed it, or in the banking industry, a good short week this week. And with that, we will say good night,
good evening,
and
good
luck.